So we're here in the first canto of Book 7, the Book of Yoga, and it has a long name, The Joy of Union, Savitri's joy at being united with Shraddhavan. But at the same time, there's the ordeal of the foreknowledge of death. She knows that he has to die very soon, and that is a very painful thing. So the heart's grief and pain. But she doesn't show that suffering to anybody. It is kept secret within herself. No change was in her beautiful motion seen, neither in her face nor her behavior does she show anything. No? So I'm going to read on from line 218. Always behind this strange divided life, her spirit, like a sea of living fire, possessed her lover and to his body clung. One locked embrace to guard its threatened mate. At night she woke through the slow, silent hours, brooding on the treasure of his bosom and face, hung o'er the sleep-bound beauty of his brow, or laid her burning cheek upon his feet. Waking at morn, her lips endlessly clung to his, unwilling ever to separate again or lose that honeyed drain of lingering joy, unwilling to loose his body from her breast. The warm, inadequate signs that love must use. Intolerant of the poverty of time, her passion catching at the fugitive hours, willed the expense of centuries in one day of prodigal love and the surf of ecstasy. Or else she strove, even in mortal time, to build a little room for timelessness by the deep union of two human lives. Her soul secluded, shut into his soul. After all was given, she demanded still, even by his strong embrace unsatisfied, she longed to cry, "O tender Shraddhavan, O lover of my soul, give more of love while yet thou canst to her thou lovest. Imprint thyself for every nerve to keep that thrills to thee the message of my heart. For soon we part, and who shall know how long before the great wheel in its monstrous round restore us to each other and our love. Too well she loved to speak a fateful word and lay her burden on his happy head. She pressed the outsurging grief back into her breast to dwell within, silent, unhelped, alone. But Shraddhavan sometimes half understood, or felt at least with the uncertain answer of our thought-blinded hearts, the unuttered need, the unplumbed abyss of her deep, passionate want. All of his speeding days that he could spare from labor in the forest, hewing wood, and hunting food in the wild sylvan glades, and service to his father's sightless life, he gave to her and helped to increase the hours by the nearness of his presence and his clasp, and lavish softness of heart-seeking words, and the close beating felt of heart on heart. So we'll go back to line 218. Which way are we starting today? This side? Dhanalakshmi.
Always behind this strange divided life, her spirit like a sea of living fire, possessed her lover, and to his body clung. One locked embrace to guard its threatened mate.
Thank you. So she's living a strange, divided life. You know? Outwardly, she has to appear calm and happy, and there are times when she is deeply happy when she's together with Shraddhavan. But behind this strange, divided life, there's her spirit, and that's like a sea of living fire. It's full of intense feeling. And that is surrounding Shraddhavan, clinging to him, to protect him. One locked embrace. It's as if her spirit never lets go of him. It's holding on to him all the time to protect, to guard its threatened mate. She feels that threat to his life, and her spirit wants to hold him and protect him. Suresh?
At night she would through the slow, silent hours, brooding on the treasure of his bosom and face, and over her the sleep-bound beauty of his brow. Her laid her burning seat above his feet.
So he sleeps at night, but she's staying awake, no? Watching him, valuing him and loving him, no? The treasure of his bosom, his face. She looks over his brow, no? Hung this o'er the V of over is omitted, so there's just a little mark there to show that something's been left out, so we pronounce it as one syllable instead of two, or. As he's sleeping, she's watching him. Or her burning cheek with the intensity of her feelings, she lays it on his feet in adoration and love. Weber.
Waking at morn, her lips endlessly clung to his, unwilling ever to separate again, or lose that honey's train of lingering joy, unwilling to lose his body from her breast. The warm, inadequate signs that love must use.
This last line is nice, no? These inadequate signs. What love really wants is a complete union, but we use these physical signs, the kiss, the embrace. So when she wakes up in the morning, she doesn't want to stop kissing his lips. She's unwilling, she doesn't want to separate again from him. She doesn't want to lose that sweetness of the lingering joy of their kisses. And she's unwilling to let go of him. She wants to keep him close to her breast. These are the warm, inadequate signs. Inadequate means not good enough. Not enough. No. These are signs that love must use when we are in the physical body. You can notice the difference between lose, L-O-S-E, and loose, means to let go, which has an extra O there. Bhavana.
Intolerant of the poverty of time, her passion catching at the fugitive hours, will the expense of centuries in one day of prodigal love and the surf of ecstasy.
Yeah, let's pause there. Poverty, time doesn't, it's also not enough, no? And she's intolerant of that. She's it's difficult for her to bear how little time there is. And the hours are fugitive. They are running away, passing fast. And she's counting them all because there's only a limited number of hours, no? So that passion, her intense feeling, catching at the fugitive hours, she wants to enjoy the delight of centuries, of hundreds of years in just one day, no? Of prodigal love. A prodigal is somebody who's very extravagant. They don't count the cost. They're willing to spend everything. So in one day to spend all those centuries of love, no? And surfing, the surf of ecstasy, like a wave of the sea which is foaming. No. Surf doesn't last long.
In the Bible they speak about a prodigal son.
In the Bible there's the story about the prodigal son. He took his share of his father's wealth and he spent it all very quickly. Yes. Mahalingam.
Or else to strove even in mortal time to build a little room for timelessness, by the deep union of two human lives, her soul secluded, shut into his soul.
Yes. So what she wants, what she would like to do is that even in mortal time, our minutes and our hours, to come close enough inwardly, her soul shut into his soul by that deep union of two human lives, to experience something beyond time, something timeless, eternal, to escape from the passage of time. Tamarai.
After all was given, she demanded still, even by his strong embrace,
Unsatisfied.
Unsatisfied, she longed to pray, O gentle Shraddhavan, O love of my soul, give more of love, while yet thou
Canst, yes.
to her thou lovest.
Yes. So even when they have been very, very close, no, she's not satisfied. So what she wants to do, something in her would like to cry out, "Oh Shraddhavan, love me more, embrace me more, while you can, to me, the one that you love." But she can't say that. Yeah. Tender, it means gentle, kind, loving. Joel.
Imprint thyself for every nerve to keep, that thrills to thee the message of my heart. For soon we part, and who shall know how long before the great wheel in its monstrous round restore us to each other and our love.
Yes. You know, to imprint, you make an impression. That impression should stay on her body. And every nerve of her body can keep the impression of his touch. Because soon we are going to separate. We're going to be separated. And once we are separated, who knows how long it will take before the cycles of time will bring us back together. To restore, it means to give back. If something has been taken away from somebody, it's given back to them, it's restored to them. But she can't say that. Who is sitting at the back there? Oh, Tatiana, yeah.
Do I also love to speak a faithful word and lay her burden on his happy head? She pressed the outsurging grief back into her breast to dwell with him, silent and held alone.
So this shows the extent of her love. No? She can't speak out those words. The grief is surging out like a wave. It wants to come out, but she presses it back. She makes it remain within her. She doesn't allow it to express itself. It has to stay there. It can't be helped. It's alone. No. She doesn't want to speak any fateful word. She doesn't want to communicate to him why she is feeling like this, because that would mean passing her burden of foreknowledge to him. He is still happy and free, and she's not going to share that dreadful burden with him. Venkat?
But Shraddhavan sometimes half understood or felt at least with the uncertain answer of our thought-blinded thoughts, the unuttered needed,
The unuttered
need, the unplumbed abyss of a deep, passionate want.
So he feels sometimes, he half understood. His human heart is like our human hearts. It's blinded by the mind. It doesn't have that direct contact, no? But he feels that need of Savitri, which she doesn't speak out. It's unuttered. When you utter something, you express it, you speak it. And he feels somehow this unplumbed abyss, this deep, dark hole that can't be filled, really. This, her deep, passionate want. She wants him so much because she knows that she's going to lose him. Unplumbed, it means it can't be measured how deep it is. Lela.
All of his speeding days that he could spare from labor in the forest, clearing wood, and hunting food in the wild sylvan glades, and service to his father's sightless wife, he gave to her and helped to increase the hours by the nearness of his presence and his grasp, and lavish softness of heart-seeking words, and the close beating fall of heart on heart.
Yes. So now we learn how Shraddhavan spends his time, what he has to do. No? His days pass quickly, they speed past. No? But whatever time out of his days that he could spare from being in the forest, cutting wood, that's one of the things that he has to do, and hunting food, he will be maybe even bringing meat, no? Antelopes and things, those old princes, they did that, hunting the deer. In the wild sylvan glades. Sylvan, it's an adjective meaning to do with trees, with woods. No? And that forest has glades, open spaces. That's where the deer will gather, or the other small animals. That's where he will go hunting for food. And he has to help his father who is sightless, who is blind. But all the time that he can spare, he gives to Savitri. And he helped to increase, to make richer the hours, her hours, by the nearness of his being with her, his embrace, speaking to her, lavish softness. He's giving her many heart-seeking words. Lavish, it means generous. And the close beating felt of heart on heart. So whenever he can be close to her, he is, and he's very affectionate and loving to her. Sergei.
Almost too little for her bottomless need. Even his presence, she forgot for a while. Grief filled his absence with its aching touch. She saw the desert of the coming days, imaged in every solitary hour.
Yes, but everything that he gives is not enough. It's too little for this bottomless need, this abyss of need that she has. When he is with her, she forgets for a little while. No? But as soon as he's gone, as soon as he is absent, he's away from her, grief fills that whole time with its aching touch, the pain, the suffering of him not being there. And whenever she's alone, she sees how it will be when he is no more with her, the desert of her coming days. We put the stress on the first syllable, Sergei, desert. And if we say it the other way around, dessert, it means something sweet to eat after your meal. The desert is the sandy waste where nothing grows, and a dessert is a sweet something after the meal, at the end of the meal. So what she saw was the desert, that wasteland of her coming days, imaged, is pictured, figured in every hour that she spends without Satyavan, when she's alone without him. Gumsun.
Although with her pain imaginary bliss, of pure union through death's glow of escape, she dreamed of her body robed in funeral flame. She knew she must not clutch at happiness to die with him and follow, seizing his will. Across our other countries, travelers glide into the sweet old heaven beyond.
So sometimes she imagines what that would be like when he is burnt on the pyre, for her also to follow him, for a fiery union through death's door of escape. She thought, what will it be like for her body to be burned in funeral flame? That recalls a traditional practice, no? That Indian women have followed, of being burned with their husbands. But she knows that she cannot do that. She must not clutch that happiness to follow him into death, holding on to his robe, following him wherever he goes, into our other countries, our immaterial countries. The two of them together, happy travelers into the beyond. Whether it is sweet or terrible, she would be happy to follow with him. So, but why can't she do that, Martin?
For those sad parents still would need her will to help the empty remnant of their day.
You want to continue?
Often it seemed to her the age's pain had pressed their quintessence into her single womb, concentrating in her the tortured world.
So when he dies, she can't die too, because his parents will need her help, no? To help them. Although once he is gone, their days will be empty, and however many days are left, a remnant is something that is left over, something that remains. They will need her. He will be gone. She will be the only one to help them. So often it seemed to her that all the pain in time, all the pain of all the ages had been concentrated. A quintessence is it's a chemical process where you distill something and you distill it again and again 5 times until you have the purest possible essence of that substance. So the most intense and concentrated and purest essence of all the pain or all the ages she feels she must be experiencing it in her single woe, her unhappiness, concentrating in her a tortured world, all the suffering in all the world. Yes.
Thus, in the silent chamber of her soul, cloistering her love to live with secret grief, she dwelt like a dumb priest with hidden gods, unappeased by the wordless offering of her days, lifting to them her sorrow like frankincense, her life, the altar, herself, the sacrifice.
So her soul is like a silent chamber, a secret room, and there she keeps her love secluded. A cloister, it is, it's part of a monastery. There's an arcade with a garden in the center and around a place that's open where the people who live in the monastery can sit and study. There will be light, fresh air, or they can walk up and down or sit and pray. It's a secret enclosed space for people who don't go out into the world. Sometimes the word cloister can be used to mean the whole monastery. It's just that part of it, but the idea is that it's an enclosed and secret place. So her soul is like that. She keeps her love there with its secret grief. And Sri Aurobindo says she's like a dumb priest, a priest who can't speak. And she's offering worship to hidden gods. However much she offers them, they are unappeased. They are not satisfied by this wordless, silent offering of her days. She's offering them her sacrifice of sorrow, like frankincense. Frankincense is a resin which has a beautiful perfume, and that is often offered as a sacrifice to the gods or in the church. No? So her sorrow is like that perfumed offering. Her life is the altar, and she herself is the sacrifice. This is the whole of this canto, actually, is based on early versions of the poem. But if we go back to the end of Canto 1, there's There's a figure there. It says that when Savitri wakes up in the morning, she feels in her heart a stone still figure of high and godlike pain. And he is waiting, unappeased. It's the same word, no? The daily oblation, the daily offering, the daily sacrifice of her unwept tears. Shall we try to reach to the end? Yet ever they grew into each other more, until it seemed no power could rend apart, since even the body's walls could not divide. For when he wandered in the forest, oft her conscious spirit walked with him and knew his actions as if in herself he moved. He, less aware, thrilled with her from afar. So Savitri and Satyavan are growing closer and closer to each other. Their union becomes more complete until it seems that nothing can separate them. No power could tear them. Rend means to tear apart. Because even the body's walls, this physical body, could not separate them. Because even when he's in the forest, when he's out gathering wood or hunting, often her conscious spirit is with him, walked with him, and knew what he's doing. She's able to exteriorize her consciousness and go with him and be aware of what he's doing, as if he's actually moving within herself. He is not so aware as that, but somehow he feels something of her presence when he's far away. This reminds me of a story that Mother tells when she was first married. I don't know whether it was when she was pregnant with André, but there was a time when she was bedridden. She had to stay in bed a lot. And she practiced exteriorizing herself. Her husband, Maurice, was working in his artist studio, and she described exactly how it was, the room, and then a kind of gallery or on the first floor over the garden, and then down a staircase into the studio. And she said as she was lying there, she would practice sending her spirit out and go down the stairs and be with him there in the studio while he was working. And sometimes when they met at meal times, she would ask, did it happen like this? Did it happen like that? And then he would be very surprised that she could know what had happened during the morning or during the time he was away. So something like that. Dana Lakshmi.
Always the stature of the passion grew. Grief, fear became the food of mighty love. Increased by its torment, it filled the whole world. It was all her life, became her whole earth and heaven.
So it's as if this love of hers is growing stronger and stronger because of all this pain, this torment. It becomes a whole universe for her. Always the stature, the size of her passion, her intense love becomes more and the grief and the fear feed it to grow more and more. Suresh.
Although life-born and infant of the hours, immortal it was unswayable as the gods. Her spirit stretched measureless in strength divine, and unwell for the blows of fate and time.
Yes, so he says her love is born in life, it's been born from life. It's in a way a child of time, but it has grown immortal, it walks. Like the gods, it can't be slain, it can't be killed, nothing can destroy this powerful love of hers. And her spirit also stretches, extends itself so far it can't be measured in divine strength. Her spirit becomes like an anvil. The anvil is the stand on which a metal worker shapes metal. It's made of iron, a big slab of iron on which the person who's making wrought iron or making weapons, making swords, there he will do his hammering to strengthen the metal. So her spirit is like that. It's a place where is strong enough to take all the blows that fate and time can give. Bevel.
Tired of sorrow, pleasure, and luxury, grief self became our dull-eyed, resolute, awaiting some issue of its final struggle, some deed in which it might forever cease. Victorious over itself in griefs and death and tears.
Yes, so even her grief changes its quality. When we have strong feelings like that, they can't last forever, no? So it somehow becomes calm, dull-eyed, somehow indifferent, resolute. There's a determined, waiting for something, waiting for what will be the outcome of this fiery struggle, this pain that it's feeling. It's waiting for something that perhaps can be done, some deed that will mean that the grief can express itself and be over, no? Have conquered itself and death and tears. Something like that grows, some kind of deep determination, even in this suffering emotional part of her being.
Here is sorrow's passionate luxury.
Oh, yes. There's, if we go on with a lot of sorrow, it can become kind of self-indulgent. Something that gets enjoyed. The grief in the lower emotional self, it can be like that it's indulging itself. So if it indulges itself so much, it even becomes tired of that grief. That helps it to turn into something else, something calm, resolute, waiting. You'll read, Bhavan? The year now.
The year now passed upon the brink of change. No more the storm sailed with stupendous wind, and thunderstorm in wrath across the world, but still was heard a muttering in the sky, and rain dripped wearily through the mournful air, and grey slow drifting clouds shut in the earth.
Yes. So it's the end of the rainy season. When it was summer, she didn't feel the grief so much. It was when the rainy season started that she realized, oh, the year is passing and, the day is coming near. So all this that she's been feeling, this intense grief, this is happening in the rainy season. But now, he says, the year is pausing, it's about to change. It's going to be the end of the rainy season. So there are no more storms, strong storms with their powerful wings. No more thunder striding across the world in anger. Wrath is anger. But still, there's a distant sort of muttering in the sky, thunder in the distance. And there's rain dripping wearily through the mournful air. It's not those powerful downpours, but still it's coming. And there are grey, slow drifting clouds. We can't see the blue sky or the sunlight. Mahalingam.
So the grief, heavy sky shut in her heart. The still self hid behind but gave no light. No voice came down from the forgotten heights. Only the privacy of a brooding pain. The human heart spoke to the body's pain.
So just like the weather, her feeling, her mood is reflecting the weather, just like that cloudy sky. So grief's heavy sky shut in her heart. Sri Aurobindo says there is her still self, her silent, calm self. It's hiding behind. It doesn't give her any light. And she's forgotten all about the higher reaches of her being. No voice is coming from there. Only what's happening is this communion between the heart, her human heart, speaking to the body's fate, what is going to happen to the body. In the privacy of its brooding pain, only her heart feels that pain. What is going to emerge from all this? So in the next canto we shall see that a voice does come down and lead her further on her journey. So we'll go back to page 471. Always behind this strange divided life, her spirit, like a sea of living fire, possessed her lover and to his body clung. One locked embrace to guard its threatened mate. At night she woke through the slow, silent hours, brooding on the treasure of his bosom and face. Hung o'er the sleep-bound beauty of his brow, or laid her burning cheek upon his feet. Waking at morn, her lips endlessly clung to his, unwilling ever to separate again, or lose that honeyed drain of lingering joy. Unwilling to loose his body from her breast, the warm, inadequate signs that love must use. Intolerant of the poverty of time, her passion catching at the fugitive hours, willed the expense of centuries in one day of prodigal love and the surf of ecstasy. Or else she strove, even in mortal time, to build a little room for timelessness by the deep union of two human lives, her soul secluded, shut into his soul. After all was given, she demanded still, even by his strong embrace unsatisfied. She longed to cry, "O tender Shraddhavan, O lover of my soul, give more of love while yet thou canst, to her thou lovest. Imprint thyself for every nerve to keep, that thrills to thee the message of my heart. For soon we part, and who shall know how long before the great wheel in its monstrous round restore us to each other and our love. Too well she loved to speak a fateful word and lay her burden on his happy head. She pressed the outsurging grief back into her breast, to dwell within, silent, unhelped, alone. But Shraddhavan sometimes half understood, or felt at least with the uncertain answer of our thought-blinded hearts, the unuttered need, the unplumbed abyss of her deep, passionate want. All of his speeding days that he could spare from labour in the forest, hewing wood, and hunting food in the wild sylvan glades, and service to his father's sightless life, he gave to her, and helped to increase the hours by the nearness of his presence and his clasp, and lavish softness of heart-seeking words, and the close beating felt of heart on heart. All was too little for her bottomless need. If in his presence she forgot a while, grief filled his absence with its aching touch. She saw the desert of her coming days imaged in every solitary hour. although with a vain imaginary bliss of fiery union through death's door of escape, she dreamed of her body robed in funeral flame. She knew she must not clutch that happiness, to die with him and follow, seizing his robe, across our other countries, travellers glad into the sweet or terrible beyond. For those sad parents still would need her here to help the empty remnant of their day. Often it seemed to her the ages' pain had pressed their quintessence into her single woe, concentrating in her a tortured world. Thus, in the silent chamber of her soul, cloistering her love to live with secret grief, she dwelt like a dumb priest with hidden gods, unappeased by the wordless offering of her days, lifting to them her sorrow like frankincense, her life the altar, herself the sacrifice. Yet ever they grew into each other more, until it seemed no power could rend apart, since even the body's walls could not divide. For when he wandered in the forest, oft her conscious spirit walked with him and knew his actions as if in herself he moved. He, less aware, thrilled with her from afar. Always the stature of her passion grew. Grief, fear, became the food of mighty love. Increased by its torment, it filled the whole world. It was all her life, became her whole earth and heaven. Although life-born, an infant of the hours, immortal it walked, unslayable as the gods. Her spirit stretched measureless in strength divine, an anvil for the blows of fate and time. Or, tired of sorrow's passionate luxury, grief's self became calm, dull-eyed, resolute, awaiting some issue of its fiery struggle, some deed in which it might forever cease, victorious over itself and death and tears. The year now paused upon the brink of change. No more the storm sailed with stupendous wings, and thunder strode in wrath across the world. But still was heard a muttering in the sky, and rain dripped wearily through the mournful air, and grey, slow-drifting clouds shut in the earth. So her grief's heavy sky shut in her heart, a still self hid behind, but gave no light. No voice came down from the forgotten heights. Only in the privacy of its brooding pain, her human heart spoke to the body's fate.